I was standing in my bedroom at 7:30 in the morning staring at a dress I'd picked out 6 months ago. Champagne silk with delicate lace sleeves. The kind of dress a mother wears when she's proud, when she's happy. When she believes her only son is marrying the love of his life. But I wasn't happy. I was terrified. My name is Eleanor Hartwell. I'm 68 years old and I've lived in Charleston, South Carolina my entire life. My husband Thomas passed away 4 years ago from a heart attack, sudden and cruel, leaving me and our son David to figure out how to keep living without him. David is 29 now. Smart, kind, exactly the sort of man any mother would be proud to raise. And this morning he was supposed to marry a woman named Sienna Caldwell. Beautiful Sienna, perfect Sienna. The woman who'd swept into our lives 18 months ago and charmed everyone she met. Everyone except me. I couldn't explain it. There was nothing concrete, nothing I could point to and say, here, this is wrong. Just a feeling that sat in my chest like a stone, cold and heavy, growing heavier with each passing day. Thomas would have known what to do, he always did. But Thomas wasn't here and I was standing alone in my bedroom, hands shaking as I tried to fasten my earrings. That's when I heard the car pull up outside, too early. We weren't supposed to leave for another 20 minutes. I looked out the window and saw our driver, Marcus, standing beside the black sedan. Marcus had worked for our family for 12 years. He'd driven Thomas to his last meeting before the heart attack. He'd driven me to the hospital. He'd driven David to his college graduation. Marcus didn't panic. Marcus didn't make mistakes. But right now, Marcus looked like a man barely holding himself together. I grabbed my purse and hurried downstairs. The October morning was crisp and beautiful, the kind of day that makes you believe in new beginnings. But Marcus's face told a different story entirely. "Mrs. Hartwell," he said, his voice low and urgent, "you need to get in the trunk right now." I stopped halfway down the driveway. "What? Please." He stepped closer and I saw fear flickering in his eyes, real fear. "Get in the trunk, cover yourself, don't make a sound." "Marcus, what are you talking about, Mrs. Hartwell?" His voice cracked. "I made a promise to Mr. Thomas. I promised I'd look after you and David. Right now I'm asking you to trust me, please." Thomas's name hit me like a physical blow. Marcus never invoked Thomas's memory lightly. I looked toward the house. David would be coming out any second, smiling, happy, ready to marry the woman he loved, the woman he thinks he loves. "Marcus," I whispered, "what did you find out?" His throat worked. "Not here, not now. But you need to see something before David walks down that aisle and he can't know you're listening." My hand shook. "What are you talking about? Please." Marcus opened the trunk. The interior smelled like leather and the lavender sachets I kept in there. "Get in, I'll explain, but we're running out of time." I stared at that open trunk, at Marcus's face, at this man who'd been family for 12 years, who'd never lied to me, who'd held my hand at Thomas's funeral. From inside the house, I heard David's voice, laughing. I climbed into the trunk, my dress caught on the latch. I bunched it up, folded myself into a space that suddenly felt impossibly small. Marcus handed me a blanket. "Cover yourself completely," he whispered. "He can't see you." I pulled the blanket over my head. The world went dim. I could hear my own breathing, loud and fast. My heart hammered. The trunk closed softly, and then I heard him, "David. Ready to go, Marcus?" His voice was bright, excited, exactly how a groom should sound. "Yes, sir," Marcus replied, perfectly calm. "Right on schedule." The passenger door opened. The car shifted as David slid in. His cologne filled the small space, the same scent Thomas used to wear. "Man," David laughed, "I can't believe I'm doing this, getting married. It's a big day, Mr. David, the biggest." David's voice softened. "I just wish Dad were here. He'd probably have some joke about me finally settling down." My throat tightened. I pressed my hand over my mouth. "Your father would be very proud," Marcus said quietly. The engine started. The car began to move. And there I was, dressed for my son's wedding, hiding in a trunk, listening to David's happy voice and wondering what truth I was about to discover. He has no idea his world is about to shatter, and neither do I. The car had been moving for maybe 15 minutes when David's phone rang. I couldn't see anything from inside the trunk, just darkness and the faint glow of morning light bleeding through the edges of the blanket. But I could hear everything. The hum of the engine, the soft rustle of David shifting in his seat, the sharp buzz of his phone vibrating. "It's Sienna," David said, and I heard the smile in his voice. "Hey, beautiful." I'm on my way to the church. He must have put her on speaker because suddenly her voice filled the car, smooth, sweet, perfectly warm. Good morning, handsome, Sienna said. How are you feeling? Nervous, David laughed. But good nervous, like this is really happening. It is. Her tone shifted slightly. I couldn't quite place it. After today, everything changes. I frowned beneath the blanket. Everything changes. The words themselves were normal, something any bride might say, but the way she said it, there was something underneath, something that didn't sound like joy. David didn't seem to notice. I can't wait to start our life together. You, me, the whole future. There was a pause, just a beat too long. Yeah, Sienna said, finally, our life. Finally, why did that word sound so wrong? I pressed my hand against my chest, trying to slow my breathing. You're overthinking this, Alina. You're hiding in a trunk because Marcus told you to, and now you're reading into every word like some paranoid. Where's your mom? Sienna asked, her voice casual but curious. David answered easily. She's coming separately. She wanted some time alone to process. I think you know how moms get emotional. My throat tightened. Good, Sienna said, then softer, almost to herself. That's good. Good, why would it be good that I wasn't there? David's phone buzzed again, a different sound this time, an incoming call trying to break through. Hang on, babe, David said. Someone's trying to call me. Who? Sienna's voice sharpened. I don't know, unknown number. Blake dismissed it. Probably spam. Anyway, where were we? They kept talking, something about the reception, the flowers, whether David remembered to pick up his boutonniere. Normal wedding day chatter, but I barely heard it because David's phone buzzed again. Same unknown number. This time David's voice changed just slightly. That's weird, same number. Ignore it, Sienna said quickly, too quickly. It's your wedding day, you don't have time for telemarketers. Yeah, you're right. They said their goodbyes, I love you, see you at the altar, and David hung up. Silence filled the car for maybe 30 seconds. Then the phone rang again, not a buzz this time, a full, loud ring. For the love of, David grabbed the phone. I heard him check the screen. Same number, third time. What the hell? Marcus's voice came calm from the driver's seat. You want me to pull over, sir? No, I'll just, David answered, his voice clipped. Hello, I couldn't hear the other person, but I heard David's response. I told you not to call this number. His voice dropped low, not angry but scared, actually scared. I told you I'd handle it, stop calling me. He hung up fast. The car felt suddenly smaller, tighter. Everything all right, Mr. David? Marcus asked, his tone perfectly neutral. David forced a laugh, but it came out hollow. Yeah, just wedding stress, you know how it is. Of course, sir, but I could hear it. The tremor underneath David's words, the way his breathing had quickened. The way he shifted in his seat like he couldn't get comfortable. My son was scared, and he was lying to Marcus, to himself. Maybe even to me if I'd been sitting beside him instead of hiding like a fugitive beneath a blanket. Who was that? I wanted to scream. Who's calling you? What aren't you telling me? But I stayed silent, frozen, listening. Marcus's voice came again, gentle. You sure you're all right, sir? I'm fine, Marcus. David's voice cracked on the word fine. Just let's get to the church. I need to marry Sienna. Everything will be fine once I marry her. Once I marry her. Like marriage was a finish line, a solution, a way to make something stop. My chest felt like someone had wrapped a band around it and pulled tight. What are you running from, David? And why do you think marrying Sienna will save you? The car kept moving and I kept listening. The car slowed, then turned. I felt the shift in direction, the pull to the left when we should have been going straight. Even hidden beneath the blanket, I'd memorized the route to St. Michael's Church. Thomas's funeral had been held there, David's baptism. Every major moment of our family's life had happened in that building. This wasn't the way. Marcus, David's voice carried uncertainty. Where are we going? Slight detour, sir, Marcus answered smoothly. David's phone chimed, a text message alert. Oh, David's tone shifted, relief mixed with concern. It's Sienna. She says, hang on. I heard him reading aloud the way he always did when he was stressed. Emergency at friend's house, need you to pick me up before church. He paused. She sent an address. Everything all right? Marcus asked. I don't know, she says it's urgent. David's voice tightened. Marcus, can we make a quick stop? I need to get Sienna. Of course, sir. Marcus's response came too easily, too prepared. He knew Marcus knew this would happen. The car turned again. The smooth hum of highway pavement became the rougher texture of neighborhood streets. I felt every bump, every pothole. This is it, David sounded confused. This neighborhood is, Sienna's friends usually live in, he trailed off. I knew what he meant. Sienna's circle, or the circle she'd shown us, lived in places like ours. Historic homes in the Battery, condos in downtown Charleston with water views, not this. The car stopped. "I'll be right back," David said. "She told me to come inside. She's in the living room." The door opened, closed. Footsteps on pavement, growing fainter, then Marcus's voice, low and urgent. "Mrs. Hartwell, come out now." I pushed the blanket off. Light flooded in, morning sun, almost blinding after so long in darkness. I blinked hard, my eyes adjusting. Marcus stood at the open trunk, hand extended to help me out. I took it. My legs had gone stiff from staying curled up. My dress was wrinkled beyond repair. I didn't care. "Marcus," I hissed, keeping my voice low. "What is this? Where are we?" He didn't answer, just pointed. I followed his gesture to a small house. Single story, painted pale blue, maybe 40 years old. The lawn needed mowing. A child's tricycle lay on its side near the steps. And there, at the end of the driveway, a mailbox. Black letters on white, the Morrison family. I stared at it, read it again. "Morrison, Morrison," I whispered. "Sienna's last name is Caldwell." Marcus's expression stayed grim. "Look at the house, Mrs. Hartwell." I did. David stood at the front door, the main entrance facing the street. He knocked. The door opened. Sienna appeared, dressed casually in jeans and a sweater. Her hair pulled back in a ponytail, nothing like the polished, perfect woman who'd been having dinner at our house just days ago. She smiled at David, bright, warm. "Hey," I heard her say, though I couldn't make out the words clearly from this distance. She gestured inside. David stepped in. "Wait here, babe," Sienna's voice carried slightly. "I just need to grab my things from upstairs." The door closed. I turned to Marcus, my pulse hammering in my throat. "What's going on? Who lives here?" Marcus's jaw tightened. "Not who lives here, Mrs. Hartwell. Who Sienna comes here to see." "What are you talking about?" He pointed again, not to the front door this time, to the side of the house. A smaller door, a side entrance. The kind that led to a mudroom or kitchen, ordinary. Easy to miss if you weren't looking for it. "Watch that door," Marcus said, his voice barely above a whisper. "Not the front, the side." "Why, what am I, please?" His hand gripped my arm gently but firmly. "Just watch. She doesn't know we're here. She doesn't know you're about to see who she really is." My breath caught. The Morrison family, a house David had never been to, a side door I was supposed to watch. And Marcus's face, that look of barely controlled urgency, the same look he'd had when he told me to hide in the trunk. "What am I about to see, Marcus?" I whispered, my voice shaking. "What's through that side door?" He didn't answer. He just watched the house, waiting, and so I did the same. 10 minutes felt like 10 hours. I crouched behind Marcus's sedan, my knees pressed against the cold concrete, my heart hammering. The modest neighborhood was quiet at this hour, a few birds chirping, the distant sound of someone mowing a lawn. Nothing about this street matched the world David and I inhabited. Nothing about this moment made sense. Marcus had positioned me here with a single instruction: watch that side door. At exactly 8 o'clock, it opened. Sienna stepped out, moving with quick efficiency. No grace, no pretense. She wore the same jeans and casual blouse. Her hair still pulled back. This wasn't the radiant bride-to-be who'd charmed our family. This was someone else entirely. "Mama," a little boy burst through the doorway, maybe 4 years old, dark curly hair. He threw his arms around Sienna's legs. "Do you have to go?" My breath stopped. "Mama," Sienna knelt down, her voice softening. "Just for today, sweetheart, then everything will be different. We need to talk about the money." A man appeared, early 30s, worn jeans, exhausted eyes. James Morrison, according to the mailbox. He looked at Sienna with desperate resignation. "He called again. If we don't pay him by Monday." "Not now," Sienna cut him off, sharp. "David is inside, in the front room." James's face crumpled. "You're really doing this?" "Marrying him?" He shook his head. "He seems like a good man. His goodness won't pay our debts." Sienna's words were ice. "His family's money will, the Hartwell estate, the real estate holdings, the trust fund, that's what keeps our son safe." I pressed my fist against my mouth. "His family's money, Thomas's legacy, David's inheritance, everything my husband had built. She wanted to steal it all." James stared at the ground. I don't like this, you don't have to like it. Sienna pulled him close and kissed him. Not the polite gesture she gave David in public, but something real, years together, shared history, a family, you just have to trust me. Daddy, the little boy tugged his shirt. Can we have pancakes? Sure, buddy, James's voice broke. Go inside, I'll be right there. As the child skipped away, something shattered inside my chest. That innocent boy had no idea his mother was about to destroy another family to save their own. Sienna, David's voice called from deep inside the house. You ready? We should get to the church. I watched Sienna transform. The hard edges melted away. The calculating gleam disappeared. Suddenly she was the gentle fiancée again. The woman who'd held David through his grief, who'd promised him a future. The mask fit perfectly. She slipped back through the side door without a word to James. 30 seconds later, the front door opened. Sienna emerged with David at her side, glowing and radiant. David wrapped his arm around her waist, completely unaware that she just kissed another man, just outlined his financial ruin. All set, Sienna's voice rang out, cheerful. Sorry for the delay, my friend's cat escaped, but we found him. She pulled David toward a silver sedan parked in the driveway. Let's take my car, baby. I want to drive us to the church together, just you and me, before everything changes. David's face softened. Yeah, that's really sweet. He glanced toward the street where Marcus waited. I'll text Marcus to meet us there. Perfect. Sienna kissed his cheek. Let's go get married. Within moments, her car pulled away, and I watched it disappear around the corner, taking my son toward what should have been the happiest day of his life. Instead, he was driving into a trap. I stepped out from behind the sedan, my legs shaking but my resolve absolute. Marcus appeared beside me, his expression grim. Her car, I said quietly. She drove them in her car. She's been using it to move between both lives, Marcus replied, no admiration in his tone. Mr. David never questioned why she insisted on driving herself to certain places. He checked his watch. 20 minutes to the church. If you're going to talk to Mr. Morrison, do it now. I walked to the front door, each step heavier than the last, and knocked. The knock echoed louder than I expected. I stood on the front porch, heart racing but hands steady. Morning sun felt too bright for what I was about to do. Inside, footsteps approached. The door opened. The man looked exactly as I'd seen moments ago, early 30s. Exhausted eyes, world-weary, James Morrison. He studied me with confusion and growing wariness. Can I help you? My name is Eleanor Hartwell. I kept my voice steady. I believe you know my son. David, color drained from his face instantly, his hand gripped the door frame. I don't. I held up my phone, the engagement photo David had sent 6 months ago, David and Sienna smiling. Then the formal portrait from their engagement party. James staggered backward. Oh God, she's really doing it. I stepped forward. He didn't stop me. The small living room was modest but clean, worn furniture, toys scattered on carpet. In the corner, a little boy with dark curly hair sat playing with building blocks, humming softly, the innocent child caught in all this. Doing what? I faced James directly, channeling Thomas's strength, always face the truth directly. James glanced at his son, who hadn't looked up, then back to me, his eyes hollow with defeat and fear. She's my wife, his voice cracked. Legally, we've been married for 6 years. The words hit hard even though I'd known. Hearing it confirmed, 6 years made it real. David had only known her for 18 months. And today, I said quietly, voice trembling despite control, she's marrying my son. James nodded miserably. She said marrying into your family would solve everything. Solve what? The debts, the threats, everything. The story spilled out. They'd gone into debt, medical bills from their son's premature birth, then bad investments. A man named Vincent Drake had loaned them money when banks wouldn't, but Vincent wasn't a banker, he was something worse. She researched your family, James said, not meeting my eyes. Found out about the real estate, the trust funds, the investments. She saw an opportunity. I thought back to that night 18 months ago, the hospital fundraiser. David had been so excited about the beautiful woman who shared his passion for nonprofit work. I'd been happy for him. He'd been lonely since Thomas died, all a lie from the beginning. Your son seems like a good man, James continued, guilt thick in his voice. He doesn't deserve this. But Sienna said if she could marry him, get access to the Hartwell accounts, we could pay off Vincent and disappear, start over somewhere safe. Safe from what? James looked up, fear genuine. If she doesn't pay Vincent soon, he said he'd take Ethan. The room tilted. Take Ethan. I looked at the little boy still playing innocently, singing about building towers. A 4-year-old who had no idea his mother was destroying another family to save his own. Do you have proof? I asked, voice sharp and businesslike. Any documentation? James's head snapped up. Yes. I kept everything. He disappeared into the bedroom. 30 seconds later, he returned carrying a worn manila folder. He spread the contents across the coffee table. First, the marriage certificate. Official, legal, undeniable. James Morrison and Sienna Caldwell Morrison married 6 years ago. The state seal stared up at me, then photographs. Family pictures spanning years, hospital with newborn Ethan, Christmas mornings, birthday parties, beach vacations. A complete life documented, a real marriage, a real family, everything David thought he was getting. Text messages came next, printed and highlighted. Sienna to an unknown number, the Hartwell family is worth millions. Real estate, trust funds, investment portfolios, once I'm in, we can access everything. Another, David is perfect, grieving, lonely, desperate for connection, he won't see it coming. My stomach turned. Bank statements showed her research. Searches for Hartwell Properties Charleston, Hartwell family assets, Thomas Hartwell estate value, she'd been hunting us. The final text made my blood run cold. Once I marry into it, we'll be protected. Vincent can't touch us. 1 year, then divorce, and we disappear with enough to start over. This is fraud, I said quietly, hands trembling. Identity theft, bigamy. Enough to put her in prison. Footsteps on the porch. Marcus appeared. I'd texted him minutes ago. Mrs. Hartwell, we need to go, he said urgently. The church is expecting us. I turned to James. Come to the church, bring Ethan. Bring these documents. James's face went white. Vincent will be watching. If I show up and ruin this, he glanced at Ethan. He said he'd take him. I'll arrange security, I said firmly. You and Ethan will be safe. But my son needs to know the truth before he says, I do. Marcus stepped forward. Mr. Morrison, I can coordinate with someone who handles situations like this discreetly. Your son will be protected. You can do that? James's voice cracked with hope. I've been protecting the Hartwell family for 12 years, Marcus replied. I won't let harm come to an innocent child. James looked at Ethan, still humming, building his tower. Then back to me, guilt transformed into determination. For Ethan, he said quietly, and for David, he deserves the truth. I nodded. Then we give it to him. Marcus's phone buzzed. He glanced at the screen, expression tightening. Our contact at the church. He turned the phone toward me. The message read, guests arriving, bride in prep room getting ready, groom asking where his mother is. We need to leave now, Mrs. Hartwell, Marcus said. I looked at James steadily. Be at the church before 11, park in the back lot, stay there with Ethan until I signal you, don't let Sienna see you. James nodded, clutching the folder. I'll be there. And Mr. Morrison, thank you for doing the right thing. As Marcus and I hurried to the car, my mind raced ahead. 3 elements needed to converge, David at the altar. Sienna playing bride and James walking through those doors with proof. The timing had to be perfect. Marcus held the car door open. The church is 18 minutes away, we're cutting it close. Then drive fast, I said. As we pulled away, I glanced back. James stood on the porch, folder pressed against his chest, watching us leave. A desperate father trying to make things right. We were running out of time. 20 minutes later, I walked into my own home like nothing had happened. Because David couldn't know, not yet. The moment I stepped through the door, I heard their voices, David and his best friend Connor, in the living room, laughing about something. Normal, happy, the way a groom and his best man should sound on a wedding day. My heart was breaking, but my face remained calm. Mom, David's voice called out, relieved and worried at once. Where have you been? You were gone so long. Are you okay? I forced a bright smile, the kind Thomas always said could light up a room. Just getting some fresh air, sweetheart, needed to clear my head. Big day, you know. David stood in front of the fireplace, fumbling with his tie, looking every bit the nervous groom. Connor sat on the couch, already dressed in his groomsman's suit, grinning. I get it, David said, laughing anxiously. I'm freaking out over here. Connor laughed. Dude, you're sweating like you're running a marathon. Relax. David turned to me, his hands still struggling with the tie. His eyes, Thomas's eyes, searched mine. Mom, do you think Sienna's happy, really happy with me? My heart shattered, but I kept my voice steady. Sweetheart, what matters is whether you're happy. David's face softened into something so genuine it hurt to witness. I am, she's everything I ever wanted. Smart, beautiful, kind. He paused, emotion catching in his throat. After Dad died, I thought I'd never feel whole again, but Sienna makes me feel like I can breathe. I had to look away, had to blink back tears. My eyes landed on Thomas's photograph on the mantel, his warm smile. The way he'd looked at our wedding 34 years ago. I wish you were here, Thomas. You'd know exactly what to say to him. Connor, oblivious to my internal collapse, clapped David on the shoulder. Man, you're glowing like a Christmas tree. She's lucky to have you. I'm the lucky one, David said quietly. Then to me, Dad would have been happy for me, right? My voice came out rougher than intended. Your father would be so proud of you, son, so proud. Connor's phone buzzed. He glanced at it. Hey, we need to head out soon, church in an hour. Right, David straightened, trying to compose himself. Mom, do I look okay? I walked over, adjusted his tie with trembling fingers the same way Thomas used to before important meetings. You look perfect, sweetheart. Thanks, Mom. He kissed my forehead. For everything, for being strong after Dad, for accepting Sienna, for being you. I couldn't speak, just nodded. I need to go get ready, I managed. You two finish up. I walked to my bedroom, closed the door, and leaned against it. For 10 seconds, I let myself feel it, the weight of what I was about to do, the knowledge that in less than 3 hours I would walk into that church and destroy my son's happiness to save him from something worse. I sat on the bed. The manila folder James had given me was still in my purse. Evidence of fraud, betrayal, calculated deception, everything David didn't know, everything he needed to know. On my nightstand sat another photograph of Thomas, this one from David's high school graduation. Thomas's hand on David's shoulder, both of them laughing, father and son. Give me strength, I thought, touching the frame. I have to break our son's heart to save it. My phone buzzed. Marcus's message, Mr. Morrison is en route to the church, security arranged. Are you ready? I typed back, as ready as I'll ever be. I stood, walked to the full-length mirror in my bedroom. The woman staring back looked composed, elegant, like someone going to celebrate her son's wedding, not someone about to destroy it. I smoothed my dress, picked up my purse, the folder hidden inside, and took one deep breath. It was time. The drive to St. Michael's Church felt like racing straight into a storm I'd summoned myself. My hands gripped the steering wheel, knuckles white. I'd told David and Connor to go ahead with Marcus, that I needed a moment alone. They hadn't questioned it. Why would they? I was the composed widow, the strong mother, always in control. What kind of mother drives to her son's wedding planning to destroy it? I whispered to the empty car. The answer came immediately, the kind who won't let him marry a lie. I passed familiar streets, the corner where Thomas proposed, the park where David learned to ride his bike, the restaurant where we celebrated his graduation, every memory a reminder of what I was protecting. Thomas, if you can hear me, tell me I'm doing the right thing. The church rose ahead. Magnificent white columns against blue sky, cars packed the lot, guests in formal attire streaming toward the entrance, everything beautiful, everything perfect, everything a lie. I spotted David's car. Watched him step out, adjusting his jacket, waving at guests. He looked so much like Thomas on our wedding day, nervous, excited, hopeful. My phone buzzed. Marcus's text, Mr. Morrison in position, back corner, Ethan with him. Security aware, I typed, arriving now. I parked, sat in silence, forcing myself to breathe. Through the windshield I watched David greeting guests, shaking hands, laughing. He looked radiant, alive. He looks just like Bernard, I whispered. But I won't fail him the way I almost did by staying silent. I stepped out. My heels clicked on pavement. Guests turned, smiled, waved. Beautiful day for a wedding, Mrs. Hartwell, someone called. I smiled back. My face a perfect mask. They had no idea that in less than an hour I would shatter everything. The church was magnificent. Soaring vaulted ceilings, polished wooden pews, massive pipe organ gleaming in afternoon light. Flowers everywhere, white roses and lilies cascading down aisles, filling the air with perfume. Sunlight streamed through stained glass windows, casting jeweled patterns across marble floors, everything perfect. Exactly as David and Sienna had planned. I stepped inside, immediately surrounded by greetings, business partners, family friends, people Thomas and I had known for decades, all smiling, celebrating, expecting a beautiful day. "Eleanor, you look stunning," Walter approached, Thomas's old business partner, kind eyes crinkling. "Thomas would be so happy seeing David settled like this." I forced a smile. "I hope so, Walter. That Sienna is a real gem," he continued warmly. "Smart, gracious, devoted to David. You raised a good man who found a good woman." My stomach twisted, but I kept smiling. "Thank you, Walter." He patted my shoulder and moved toward his seat. I watched him go, wondering how many people in this room I was about to disappoint. "Mrs. Hartwell," Connor rushed over, grinning. "David's backstage, freaking out a little, normal groom stuff. You want to see him?" "Yes, please." Connor led me behind the altar to a small preparation room. David stood before a mirror, fumbling with his tie, anxiety radiating from him. "Mom, thank God." Relief flooded his face. "I'm losing my mind here." My heart shattered. "That's normal, sweetheart, is it?" He laughed nervously. "I just want everything perfect for her, for us." I stepped closer, gently moving his hands aside and fixing his tie the same way I'd done before his prom, his graduation, every important moment. "David, I need you to know something." He looked at me, eyes so much like Thomas's. "What?" I chose words carefully. "No matter what happens today, I love you always. And everything I do is to protect you." David's brow furrowed, confused. "What could happen, Mom? Everything's perfect. She's perfect." I nearly collapsed but held firm. "I know, son." He pulled me into a hug. "Thank you for accepting her. For supporting us, for giving us your blessing. It means everything." Over his shoulder, my eyes filled with tears. "I love you so much, David." 10 minutes, man," Connor called from the doorway. "Guests are seated." "Time to go." I pulled back, straightened David's collar. "You look handsome, just like your father." "Thanks, Mom." He smiled, that beautiful, innocent smile about to be destroyed. I left the room, composure hanging by a thread. The organ music swelled, filling the church. Every head turned toward the back. The ceremony was beginning. Guests rose to their feet. The traditional processionals started, bridesmaids gliding down the aisle in elegant dresses, carrying small bouquets, smiling at the crowd. I sat in the front row, the exact spot where I'd sat at my own wedding to Thomas 34 years ago. My hands were folded calmly in my lap, but my heart pounded so hard I was certain everyone could hear it. David stood at the altar with Connor beside him, Reverend Patterson positioned between them. My son's face showed everything: nervous anticipation, barely contained joy, eyes glistening with emotion as he kept glancing toward the back of the church. The music shifted, the bridal march began, the doors at the back opened wider. Sienna appeared. She was stunning, a vision in white. The dress fitted perfectly, flowing elegantly behind her, veil cascading down her back. Bouquet of white roses clutched in her hands, she looked every bit the perfect bride. Whispers rippled through the guests. "She's beautiful. What a gorgeous bride. They look so perfect together." Sienna began her walk down the aisle, each step slow and measured, perfectly timed to the music. Her smile was radiant, graceful, everything a bride should be. David's face transformed completely, pure joy, tears streaming down his cheeks. He pressed his hand to his chest like his heart might burst. I watched her approach, thinking, "She looks like an angel, but I know better." Sienna passed each row, nodding graciously at guests, her smile never faltering. She played the role flawlessly. My eyes swept the room. Marcus stood near the side entrance, almost invisible unless you knew where to look. He caught my eye, gave the smallest nod. "Ready?" I scanned the back corner, James and Ethan, partially hidden behind a column. Ethan whispered something to his father. James gently shushed him, his hand protective on the boy's shoulder, everything in position. Sienna reached the front, stopped, turned to face David. He stepped forward, hand extended, eyes full of love and wonder. She took his hand, stepped up beside him. Reverend Patterson's voice rang out, warm and ceremonial. "Dearly beloved, we are gathered here today to witness the union of David Hartwell and Sienna Caldwell in holy matrimony," the traditional words. "The sacred vows about to be spoken. Marriage is a sacred bond," Reverend Patterson continued, "built on trust, honesty, and love." Trust, honesty, love, the words felt like mockery. Sienna's smile remained perfect. But I noticed something, her fingers tightening on David's hand just for a moment before relaxing again. She knew something was wrong, she just didn't know I knew everything. Marriage is not to be entered into lightly, the Reverend said, but reverently, deliberately, and in accordance with the purposes for which it was instituted. David looked at Sienna like she'd hung the moon. Connor stood proud beside him. The guests watched with rapt attention, expecting a fairy tale ending. I sat perfectly still in the front row, hands folded calmly on my lap, patient, waiting. Reverend Patterson cleared his throat. His voice rang out across the silent church, solemn and ceremonial. If anyone here knows any reason why these two should not be joined in holy matrimony, speak now or forever hold your peace. The traditional silence followed, the moment every ceremony has but no one ever fills. 3 seconds, 4, 5, Sienna's shoulders relaxed slightly, relief washing over her face. David smiled nervously at her, squeezing her hand tighter, his eyes glistening. I stood slowly from the front row. The sound of my movement, fabric rustling, the pew creaking echoed in the profound stillness. Every head turned toward me. I object. My voice was clear, steady, undeniable. Gasps erupted throughout the church like a wave crashing. Shocked whispers exploded instantly. What did she just— Oh my God, the mother of the groom. David spun around, face stricken with confusion and horror. Mom, what are you doing? Connor's mouth fell open. Mrs. Hartwell, Sienna's composure shattered instantly. Her voice trembled, desperate. Mrs. Hartwell, this isn't appropriate. This isn't the time. Reverend Patterson stood frozen, completely unprepared despite conducting hundreds of weddings. Mrs. Hartwell, this is most unusual. I mean, if you have concerns, perhaps we should discuss this privately. I walked toward the altar, each step deliberate and measured. My heels clicked against marble. The whispers grew louder around me, guests turning to each other, standing to see better, phones being discreetly pulled out. This wedding cannot proceed, my voice carried through the entire church, reaching every corner. I'm sorry to everyone gathered here, but it cannot. David stepped toward me, his face a mixture of betrayal and desperate confusion. Mom, what are you saying? Have you lost your mind? This is my wedding day. I stopped at the altar steps, just below where he and Sienna stood. My eyes met my son's, those eyes so much like Thomas's, and my heart broke, but I didn't waver. No, sweetheart. I finally found it. I turned my gaze to Sienna. She stood frozen, bouquet trembling in her hands, the perfect bride facade cracking before everyone's eyes. This is insane, Sienna said, her voice rising with panic. You're ruining— This is my wedding, our wedding. David, your mother is— I cut her off, my voice still calm, still controlled. Because the woman standing at this altar is already married. The church erupted. Louder gasps, stunned exclamations. Chairs scraping as people stood. What? She's married? To who? The whispers became a roar. David staggered backward like I'd physically struck him. What are you talking about, Mom? That's impossible. We've been together 18 months. She's never— Connor caught David's arm, steadying him, his own face pale with shock. Sienna's voice turned shrill, desperate. That's not true. She's lying. She's completely lying. David, don't listen to her. Your mother is trying to sabotage us because she never wanted you to move on after your father. I kept my gaze locked on Sienna, unwavering. Tell everyone here about James. Tell them about Ethan. Silence fell like a hammer, every eye fixed on Sienna. Her face went from white to gray. Her hands started shaking so badly the bouquet trembled visibly. David looked between us, his voice breaking. Who's James? Who's Ethan? Mom, what are you talking about? Sienna's mouth opened, but no sound came out. The mask had finally completely shattered. Walter's voice came from somewhere in the crowd. Eleanor, what's going on? I didn't take my eyes off Sienna. James Morrison is her husband, legal husband. They've been married for 6 years. Ethan is their 4-year-old son. The church exploded again, louder this time, voices overlapping, people standing, even the organist standing up to see what was happening. Then slowly heads began turning toward the back of the church. Movement caught everyone's attention, and there he was, walking down the center aisle with measured steps, a little boy clutching his hand, the man Sienna called husband. James Morrison had entered the building. James stepped into the center aisle from the back corner, holding Ethan's small hand in his. Ethan's voice carried in the profound silence, innocent and confused. Daddy, why is everyone staring at us? James squeezed his hand gently, his voice soft. It's okay, sweetheart, just walk with Daddy. They moved down the aisle together, each footstep echoing against marble. The church held its collective breath, hundreds of eyes following their progress. Whispers rippled through the guests like wind through leaves. "Who is that man? There's a child. What's happening? Did she say Daddy?" Ethan looked around, eyes wide with wonder at the flowers and decorations. "Daddy, it's so pretty here. Look at all the flowers." Then he saw Sienna standing at the altar in her white dress, veil flowing behind her. Ethan's face lit up with pure, innocent delight. "Mama, you look like a princess." The church erupted, louder gasps. Shocked exclamations. "Mama," she called her Mama. "Oh my God," Sienna's voice cracked with panic. "Ethan, no, James, what are you doing? You can't." David turned to me, his face a mask of confusion and desperate hope that this was somehow a mistake. "Who is this man? Who is that child? Mom, what's going on?" James reached the front of the church, stopping just a few steps from the altar where David and Sienna stood. He looked at my son with genuine sympathy. Then at Sienna with resignation, then at the shocked congregation. "My name is James Morrison." His voice trembled but held firm, carrying through the silent church. He looked directly at Sienna. "And Sienna Caldwell Morrison is my wife." The whispers became a roar, chairs scraped, people stood to see better. Someone gasped, "No," someone else said, "This can't be real." James continued, each word deliberate and clear. "We've been legally married for 6 years. I have our marriage certificate with me. We have a home together. We share a bank account." He gestured toward Ethan with infinite tenderness. "And this is our son, Ethan. He's 4 years old." Ethan, oblivious to the gravity of the moment, waved cheerfully at the crowd. "Hi everyone, I'm Ethan." David staggered backward like he'd been physically struck. No, this can't be. You're lying. You have to be lying." "Mom, tell me he's lying." I caught David's arm, holding him steady as his whole world crumbled. "I'm so sorry, sweetheart. I'm so sorry, but it's the truth. I saw them together this morning." I spoke with James. "I have proof." David's face went from shock to devastation. He turned to Sienna, voice breaking completely. "Sienna, tell me he's lying. Please tell me this isn't true. Tell me you love me. Tell me any of this is real." Sienna's mouth opened, closed, opened again. No words came. Only tears streaming down her carefully made-up face, mascara beginning to run, James's expression filled with sadness and guilt. "I'm sorry, David, I truly am. You seem like a good man. You don't deserve this." He paused, choosing his words carefully. "But she's been planning this for months. She researched your family's wealth. She targeted you deliberately at that fundraiser. We owe money to dangerous people. She said marrying into your family would solve everything, that she could access your accounts, pay off our debts, and we could disappear." Connor stepped forward, his usual humor completely gone. "David, man, I don't understand what's—" David held up a hand, silencing him. His eyes never left Sienna. "Say something, anything. Tell me this isn't real. Tell me you actually love me." The silence stretched. 10 seconds, 20. Reverend Patterson finally found his voice, shaken. I cannot continue this ceremony. This is— I've never." Walter rose from his seat, his voice carrying concern. "Eleanor, is all of this true?" I kept my hand firm on David's arm, anchoring him. "Every single word." David's knees buckled. I caught him, Connor rushing to support his other side. My son stared at the woman he'd planned to build a life with, waiting desperately, heartbreakingly, hoping for a denial that would never come. "Sienna," David whispered one final time, voice barely audible. "Please." Sienna opened her mouth, but this time no lies emerged, only silence. And in that silence lay her complete, devastating confession. Then she collapsed, sinking to her knees at the altar. The beautiful bouquet fell from her hands, white roses scattering across the marble steps. Sobs racked her body, not from remorse or regret, but from the realization that her carefully constructed plan had shattered completely. And with it, my son's heart broke into 1,000 pieces. 6 months later, life looked different, quieter, but somehow stronger. I sat in my office, afternoon sunlight streaming through windows. On my desk sat a photograph, Thomas, me, and David as a little boy, all 3 of us laughing at something long forgotten. The door opened. David walked in, carrying project folders. "Mom, I finished the Charleston Harbor proposal. Want to review it?" I studied him carefully. He looked better, not healed completely, that would take time, but lighter. He slept through the nights now, sometimes he even smiled. "How are you doing, David?" "Really?" He sat down, answering honestly. Some days are harder than others, but I'm okay. Therapy helps a lot. Dr. Williams says I need to rebuild trust slowly, no rushing into anything. I felt pride swell in my chest. That's very wise. I'm taking time, focusing on work, on family, on myself. He paused. Dad would be proud of how I'm handling this, right? Your father would be incredibly proud. David smiled slightly. I hope so. He gestured to the folders. Business is doing well. The harbor project should be approved next week. By the way, David added, I officially started calling Marcus Uncle Marcus. He actually teared up. I laughed softly. He's earned that title. David's expression shifted. I heard from the prosecutor. Sienna's sentence came down, 4 years, fraud, bigamy, identity theft. She'll serve at least 3 with good behavior. I nodded. Justice was served. I don't hate her, David said quietly. I feel sorry for her. She destroyed everything and got nothing. What about James and Ethan? James sent me a message. He and Ethan are doing much better. You helped with their legal fees and relocation costs. It was the right thing to do. They were innocent in all this. David stood. Dinner this weekend? Always. He hugged me, genuine, warm. Thank you, Mom. For everything? After he left, I sat alone, looking at Thomas's photograph again. We did it, Thomas, I whispered. Our son is safe. David is healing slowly, carefully, but genuinely. He's learned to recognize warning signs, to trust his instincts, to ask questions before giving his heart away. The business is thriving. Marcus is officially part of our family now, not just an employee, but family. James and Ethan are safe, starting over in a new city with new opportunities. And Sienna, she's serving 4 years for fraud and bigamy. I don't wish her ill, but I don't regret what I did. Justice isn't revenge. It's protecting others from harm. Sienna thought she could build a future on lies. She believed if she could just reach that altar, just say, I do, everything would work out. But truth doesn't need permission to surface. It only needs someone brave enough to speak it. If this story touched your heart, I hope it reminded you to trust your instincts, to protect those you love, and to never be afraid to speak truth even when it shatters everything. Because in the end, one painful moment of truth is always better than a lifetime of suffering from lies. Take care, you guys. Goodbye.